Hello, folks. Welcome to Pushing the Boundaries. The world is too reactive. It's always dealing with high risk, mopping up incidents when things go wrong, but not this man. I had the pleasure of meeting and seeing Peter present at Qlik's Public Sector Analytics Summit. He walked through how analytics is providing a golden opportunity for healthcare colleagues to see and understand the whole patient picture, joining up those disparate information sources and allowing a risk-based preventative approach to patient care. New ways to protect the vulnerable resonated with all of us listening. It was a hugely powerful story. It was a hugely powerful presentation, and it gives me a few goosebumps actually. Thinking about it now. The hairs, on my, I might be able to see it slightly, but the hairs, difficult to tell, on my arm are standing up. Okay, that's how powerful it was for me, Peter. And I thought, 6 months on, it would be a fantastic opportunity to catch up again with Peter, see how it's going, and most importantly, provide another opportunity to share this fabulous story. So, Peter, welcome to Pushing the Boundaries. Good morning, and lovely to see you again.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing not too bad, actually. Not too bad.
Do you like my magic room?
Do you know what? I'm a bit wondering what it is. Can you do a bit of is there a patient behind there? Can you do a bit of a reveal?
All will be revealed at the end, as they say. All will be revealed at the end.
Gosh, you get loads of people coming out dancing or something. I don't know what you've got planned for it. How exciting, folks! I just can't wait. Should we just finish the interview now and just do the reveal? No, going to make us wait. Okay, brilliant. Last time we met at the summit, again, that powerful story. And I thought, actually, let's start off with getting to know you a little bit. What's behind you a little bit about your career, Peter, and what's it like being in the ambulance service?
Well, my career has been within the NHS for over 21 years. Just to be clear, I'm not a doctor. I haven't been to university. I've got no degrees or PhDs. I was able to join the ambulance service in the old days when it was a vocational based opportunity with on-the-job training. So you got through a very arduous selection process. You then did what we call patient transport, driving the oldies to their day appointment. Once the organisation, which was back in those days Surrey Ambulance, once they felt you had the right qualities and attributes, you then could apply to go frontline. You then did a 10-week classroom-based anatomy and physiology, trauma medicine course, and then you were on probation for a year when you had study days and stuff like that. And then after that, you then qualified. So it's a far cry from the 3.5-year degree process that it is today. But I think I made the best decision of my life joining the ambulance service.
Yeah.
If you were to cut me in half and dissect me, you'd find a very thin, but very palpable green line that runs through me. I'm incredibly proud of my opportunity to serve, but the opportunities afforded to me to really help when help is really needed. We often think that the ambulance service is as portrayed in the TV, like Josh off Casualty or Holby City. I wish somebody put a brook through that man's window, because it's not like that at all.
No. And
it's more along the lines of periods of inactivity and then sudden bursts of having to think very quickly, having to deliver, having to be robust, to be dynamic, lateral thinking, solving problems.
Absolutely. And lots of similarities with policing and other frontline services. Thinking on your feet, managing risk. When we talk about people managing risk, you do it literally by the second, by the minute. Got a lot of planning behind the scenes, all your training that you do. Yeah. But when you come to it, got to keep a cool head. And that's what always amazes me with any interactions I've had. With some of the worst situations you could possibly think of. It's how cool and collected people are, and that's just so confidence inspiring. And I think you get that from experience, don't you?
I think for me, you learn to be an oxymoron. I often, when I speak to new paramedics now, I talk about the ability to wear your cold heart on your sleeve. And by
Yeah.
that, I mean being open, being vulnerable, listening, offering support, but trying very hard to not get involved, not to take the personal stuff home, because it does have the ability to cause a huge amount of collateral and personal damage. You know, the things that we've seen and the things that we've done can change who we are. And the emphasis for me is not to allow that to change me. It's the ability to allow it to strengthen me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%, Peter. And, you know, thinking about your career, you did your 21 years. And I guess it's quite a reactive, you know, you're dealing with high risk incidents, you're attending things, you know, when things sometimes often go wrong. It's reactive in that sense. And you've moved, I guess, Peter, now into a proactive care lead. And wow, I mean, that's so learning what you've done from the reactive, then really sort of understanding and applying that to the proactive. What made you sort of shift around there?
So in the ambulance service, we never get to see the full picture. You know, we never get to know how the book finishes. We never see the end of the film. We come in, we have a huge intervention or a huge part to play, but actually we never know how it ends up. And that was one of the frustrations that really drove me to realize that actually I could do so much more. So when I heard politicians talking about making the NHS a 24-hour, 7-day service, I'd sit in the ambulance crew room and my colleagues would say, yeah, that's really going to happen, because people don't know what that means. So if I say to you, Sean, that when we look at the NHS, when we look at an 8 to 8 service, which is probably the best that we can achieve, that still only equates to 23% of a week. So how are we going to manage these patients outside of that 23%?
Yeah. How
are we going to change what the provision of care is? Because the reality is you have one or two choices. Either the patient's behavior changes and what they do changes. So you can't say heart attacks are only between 8 and 9 Tuesday, Wednesdays and Fridays. Mental health crisis is only on a Wednesday afternoon. Or you have to say, let's make the service more mirror-like to what it needs to serve. And that's what I really wanted to get involved in, because I don't consider myself an expert, but I do have insight into how we can make the service meet the patient's needs. And I often talk about making sure that we have the right care in the right place at the right time to assure that everything we aspire to do is done to the best of our ability.
Yeah, and getting upstream, we can't keep on having increases in complex demand that the world puts on us. We haven't got the resources to deal with that. So being able to reduce demand at source in a multi-agency environment is at the heart of integrated services and approach. Not many people manage to achieve that very well, though. You talk about the integrated care systems and all the other, equivalent names for these things, but you don't get huge amounts of success at scale. And when we see certain cases like what you're doing, that's an inspiration for us to learn on those successful things that have gone right, and maybe some of the things you've learned that haven't gone right. And it's the way forward, isn't it? And those challenges, the challenges you've got for proactive care. What does it look like at the moment for you, Peter? What key things are you facing?
So what we are acutely aware of is the changing face of the NHS. So just to go back, if I may, Sean, to give you an analogy of what are some of the challenges that we face, and one of the great things that we've been able to overcome in my current organisation is the NHS is so heavily weighted in favour of maintenance, maintaining a service specification, maintaining a management oversight, maintaining a measurement tool. So there's my 3 M's, the ability to maintain, manage and measure. but none of them
Right.
have any realistic impact on a patient. So I'll give you an example. There was a great hullabaloo about the fact that the 4-hour waiting time in A&E was being removed. And I thought hard about that and thought, well, actually, where does it measure the patient's outcome? Does it matter if a patient is seen at 3 hours, 59 minutes, in which case it's a tick? And is it really detrimental if they're seen at 4 hours, 4 minutes, but by the right clinician who gives them the right tools, which gives them the right equipment, which means that actually that measurement tool doesn't really count. And we can't really adequately, at the moment, measure performance outcomes. So another example, an ambulance should take no more than 8 minutes to get to a life-threatening call. Now, the ambulance service can achieve that, but we're not measured on what kind of response we give, whether it's a member of St. John Ambulance or a highly trained degree-level paramedic, because we don't measure what the outcome is. And that's where we need to move to, measuring outcomes based on patients' best expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. And the police service went through a big transformation of where compliance targets were skewing, creating actually quite an unhealthy culture around chasing the numbers. They've shifted and changed the way that they do their business in terms of that now. And I think, looking at the NHS, there is still that there, isn't there? Those compliance culture. But it's actually a lot of fear, isn't it, as well, for people working in the environment. So hopefully some of the things that you're doing will show new ways of how you look at the bigger picture. So it's great to hear that you're doing that.
Your question about where are we at the minute with challenges, if we were on a seesaw, I would say when I first joined the organisation 3 years ago, it was very much heavily tilted in favour of a reactive response. With COVID and with education and with the investment that we've been able to do locally, we're probably on an even keel now. I'm talking to you from a clinical room. The clinical room 6 months ago didn't have a camera, didn't have the facility of Wi-Fi, didn't have the opportunity to do Zoom-like consultations. We've done that now. We've been able to take off the inhibitors of why should we do that, and we've moved it to an operational position where we say, why can't we do that? And that's been really liberating for the real clinicians on the ground, because actually the challenges are not why should we do that. We are at that place where we say, why can't we do that? And actually some of the planning now is, so where do we go next? How do we influence change in September when we need to do the flu clinics and the government wants to do the biggest public immunisation that we've ever done? How do we do that with COVID? How do we make sure that, we maintain our services which provide interventions at the right level? So how do we enable district nurses to be able to see what mental health colleagues are saying about a patient's mental health? Because actually, we can't put patients into condition boxes. We can't say your problem is your heart, your lungs, your head, your brain, without saying, how's your family? How's your income? How's your diet? And the better and the quicker that we get into dealing with the holistic person, the better that we have outcomes that are based on real innovation.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that. So tell me a little bit about how the analytics is helping you achieve that then, Peter.
So the analytics is an important aspect. And it's an important aspect because it is not done somewhere remotely by a geek in a room locked away. Analytics is a tool that everybody from the receptionist to the clinical director looks at. We can look at type of patients, time of patients, length of time of consultations. We're able to look at paramedics who are going out and doing home visits to say, actually, we built a model that says this is the type of patient that they should be seeing. But the analytics are saying, well, actually, they're seeing more of this. So instead of waiting until the scale tips the other way again, we're able to put things in place to maintain balance, to say, okay, you seem to be going out to a lot of leg pains. Let's make sure that, firstly, your skills are up to date with assessment and diagnostic of leg problems. And on the back of that, let's make sure we can connect you in via IT to tissue viability nurses, to circulatory specialists, even to physios and OTs to say, actually, how can we stop this leg breaking down, then causing the patient to fall, and then them being in hospital because they've broken their hip.
Yeah.
So the analytics is an important part, because actually it gives you a real snapshot of what you're seeing now.
Yeah. And joining up together. And, you talk about putting analytics in the hands of those doing the job, as it were, rather than, in a management office or in a technology office. That truly is the democratization of data and analytics to the decision makers that do the work day in, day out. And are you finding that they're engaging with that, Peter?
Yeah.
Are they do they feel as if it's really helping them? What sort of success are you seeing?
So I think we've been able to turn a culture, or a perceived culture in the NHS, where you have the gamekeeper and the poacher. So you always have to report your activity, and the aim is to try and report well. We've turned it away. We're in such a collaborative relationship with our CCG that actually we're telling them what we think is reportable, and they're going, oh my goodness me, we didn't realize that. Actually, let us support that process moving forward. Wow, you're seeing these many patients. We need to share this process with another locality.
Yeah.
So that's what information analytics does. It takes information which is often perceived to be real on the ground floor, and it matches it with intelligence.
Yeah.
And that gives you a clearer picture of how to shape care.
And so you're using it not just for tactical, but you're actually using it for strategic. So you're using it for, which is absolutely fantastic. And cultures, having experienced it myself and seen others do it, a bit like yourselves. Culture gets changed with data. It obviously is part of that, leadership, and you add all the other things in. But at the heart of it, evidence-based decision making, data, as the thread throughout all what we do, is a starting point for change, isn't it? You were talking about, we didn't realise that so many people had leg conditions. It was the same when I was doing it, Peter. That when you start tin opening, using and grabbing all these different bits of information, it was almost quite a surprise. You think, goodness me, it's not quite like what I thought it was. Even though the professionals are saying it's like this, this, and this, it's challenging some of that traditional ways of working. We've always done it this way, or we've always thought it was this, but actually sometimes it's not. So that's really powerful, how you're using to change traditional thinking, I guess, with the data, isn't it?
And what I've been very keen to do is the information that we report to the cleaners, the administrators, the receptionists, through the clinical grades to the medical directors and the board is exactly the same. We don't cut it in different ways. We don't say this is your report and this is your report, because everybody is part of that process of improving patient outcomes, of improving clinical care. And some of the best ideas have come from Jeff on reception. Some of the most innovative ways of working have come from Brad, the community paramedic. And then that's
behind the curtain.
Say again?
Is Jeff behind the curtain?
You'll find out. But that's really, really important, because actually you can paint many pictures from one blueprint. Yeah,
absolutely. And talking of Jeff really being part of that journey, contributing and being part of that journey, what kind of lessons are you learning from what you're doing? Good and bad, I guess. Are there things you think that we've got to keep doing more of this, or stop doing that from what you've done?
I think some of the lessons that we've learned is not everybody will be on the same page, so you need thinking space. And I think in the current climate of COVID, the one thing that we've taken for granted is the ability to do face-to-face reassurance, the face-to-face coffee moments or the water cooler conversations to say, I get your point, what you just said in the meeting, but just go with it, or let me help you, or shall we do something? And no matter how good Teams and Zooms are, actually, you can't totally replace that physical reassurance. So how do we build that in? Some of the other challenges is how do we deliver everyday business in a changing environment? Because this situation with COVID isn't going to go away anytime soon, I don't think. And we are going to have local, regional, geographical lockdowns, and we're going to have condition type lockdowns. You know, we've already seen it. So what I don't want to lose is the ability to get to a position where we're overloading our workforce by saying, do this as well, learn this as well. We need to be able to build in slack within the system.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you seeing from the results, are you seeing that you're managing to prevent and reduce some of that demand, you know, the multiple trips to GPs that can be avoided, or the falls in hospital? So if you're treating the patient as a whole, hopefully you'll be looking to prevent some of those things from happening. Are you seeing signs that you're getting that from your results?
We were quite lucky that we were in a position before COVID that we were already highly performing with what I call holistic care. So we were already probably in cruise mode in the number of preventions that we were able to influence, the number of activities that we would see. What we're now seeing come to the front now is how do we manage the patient's expectations? Because some patients are saying, I'm not coming out of COVID until there's an antidote. Other people are saying, I can't sit on this problem any longer. And other people are saying, well, why can't I see a doctor now? So you've got the whole variation of patient expectation. And the challenge is, how do we meet that in a way that's safe for them and us?
Yeah, and you know, again, you've moved into that proactive care lead. I guess when you were, in the front line in the ambulance service, doing what you were doing originally, you were saving people or reducing harm, and even saving lives, obviously. Do you still get the same sense of satisfaction with seeing how you and the analytics is potentially preventing someone from falling? And, you know, when an elderly person falls, often there's a knock-on effect and doesn't go so well for their future, does it? The life chances are reduced significantly with complications.
So there's
dealing with the whole.
So
do you feel satisfaction from that, Peter?
I feel a constant urge to do more.
Right.
But I have the ability that, because of my role and the support that I get within my organisation, that actually we are making a tangible difference every day. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I found out yesterday, ran a report, seen that there'd been this activity with this 83-year-old lady who had sudden hearing loss in her 20s, has spent most of her adult life as a deaf person, suffered from a stroke 2 years ago, was managing really well independently at home, had a fall, went into hospital. Because I was able to support the clinicians in a hospital acute environment and tell them more about their background, we were able to move her to a community setting. And even the ability of a clinician going in to assess the patient who should be wearing a face mask. Well, how do you communicate with an elderly lady who's never really had the ability to look read well if you're wearing a face mask?
Yeah.
So the innovation, the information came from the analytics. The analytics was fed by the experience and the opportunities to say now that patient's being discharged today, probably 8 days ahead of the projected discharge date, with a package of care, having been tested for COVID, by clinicians taking reasonable, sensible choices to enable and empower that patient to have the right care at the right place.
That's absolutely brilliant, and obviously a lot of say criticism, but a lot of frustration, I guess, from acute hospitals is about how long people are staying in hospitals, about care plans being in place for them to move from ward to the next place that they're going to. And that sounds like a fantastic example that not only hugely beneficial for the patient, but it's also hugely beneficial in terms of managing this big picture stuff of, look, we've got to have a patient flow that's working, efficient and optimized. We've got to work together collaboratively across agencies. And that's a lovely example of an intervention where, it's just what you want, isn't it? What you want to see going on.
But the reality of what we're able to achieve is if we accept that we are responsible for the provision of care, instead of me saying, you've got a problem, Sean, I'm going to send you to A&E, and then it's going to be A&E's responsibility. If I say to Sean, I'm going to send you to A&E, but I'm going to send a summary of what I think is wrong with a picture of what I know is right, which is normal, which is Sean's normal style of hair, his normal taste of t-shirt, then I can support the hospital to say, instead of you trying to fix this, all I need you to do is fix this.
Yeah.
And then if I regularly intervene and say, how are we doing with Sean? They'll say, well, we're just waiting for a care package. Well, actually, we can help with that. So we can support discharge to assess. We can support discharge with further care in the community, all of which is powered by informatics. What is the risk of Sean falling over down a flight of stairs? Well, actually, Sean's lived in a bungalow for the last 15 years. He hasn't got any stairs. But where would that be in your medical records?
Absolutely. And that's the power of the analytics, doing that, joining up, clever bit of insight. So, the business designing and developing something that makes action and decision and something different, all packaged up. So rather than thinking, what do we know about so-and-so? No one really knows. Someone would have to do a lengthy bit of research, manual research, through systems, phone calls. If it's all there, presented, and actually proactively sent, then that's transforming traditional ways of working, isn't it? And cultures shift and change because of it, don't they?
Yeah, and the other thing that's quite interesting is I've been working alongside a company who's got digital informatics that are home-based. So for me, there's always been a huge disconnect that on my phone, I can turn my burglar alarm off, I can turn my central heating on, and I can set my Sky box to record Home and Away, which is still on the TV, I'll have you know.
Is it?
But actually, when we come to our most vulnerable, our most complex, our most frail patients, everything comes down to this. And there's a company called Qlik 360 who've developed a solution where they have discrete technology within the home that helps manage, monitor, measure normal activity, so that the minute that there's a slight deviation from the norm, they're able to say, do you know what? Derek didn't make his cup of tea at the normal time today. Mavis has been up 3 times in the night to go to the loo. What is the problem? And then we're able to look at the organic causes for those changes. Prevent downstream Mavis having a fall at 3 o'clock in the morning and being on the floor for 5 hours, and then having a 16-week admission, because actually the tool, the informatics, Qlik said, actually she's got a urinary tract infection. This is the behavior that matches the pattern. This is the intervention. And they're incredible. They're really incredible.
I think I might have read an article, actually. Was there one published recently on that by yourself? I think out there. I have to get that out to people again for them to have a look at when we post the recording of this, Peter. Again, I think that's the future. Do you see that as the future? I mean, I see it as the future, where you've got that analytics in the home supporting, that sort of thing.
My passion is to make it today.
Okay,
Making it the reality by close of play today, because tomorrow never comes. There's always something that happens at 3 o'clock that skews your diary for the rest of tomorrow. And the urgency is, if we've moved to a point of view saying, why should we, to why can't we? Well, the question is, why can't we? If we know how much you know, if you ever wanted to pay me or take me out for dinner, Sean, I hear that, you know, you can go to the Plaza in central London and have a 3-course meal for £130. Why is it that we give a budget of £3.50 for a patient who's vulnerable, ill in hospital? Why is it that you can get a Travelodge room for £79 and yet your hospital admission bed today costs in excess of £1,000 a day? When there's this technology that in the big scheme of things costs peanuts, but can influence priceless individuals.
Yeah, and I think that's, again, I mean, I see it a lot. It's all about leadership, and our top leaders, the understanding of technology and how to connect it to bringing technology, people, process, systems together. Not everyone. Some of our leaders in the world really do it well. Some of our leaders just don't understand it. They're always focusing on that traditional, just trying to keep the lights on approach, rather than that really, understanding of how technology can transform traditional ways and be efficient and be better for healthcare. So we need more people like that. We need more people like you, Peter, to sell and talk about these things. And I love that ambition when you were saying, well, it's now, Sean. I'm not, if I think it's going to be tomorrow, it won't be done. It's now. My day, my mission every day is now. So I love that. And, I can really familiarize with what you're saying there. And hopefully that will inspire people to think it's not going to be tomorrow. It's going to be today. I'm going to look at whatever it was, whatever technology for their industry that'd be really important. Go and have a look at it. Go and dabble. Go and see. Go and talk to people that have done it before, maybe learn some lessons. And that's a powerful thing, isn't it? So thank you for that. And,
thank you.
Right, I'm going to have to say it. I need to see if that's Jeff behind. Who is behind the curtain? Come on, everyone. Let's see. Hold on a minute. It's a bed.
It's a bed. It's a bed.
Is that where you sleep, or is that?
I do work
calling out your wife.
Hard. No. So I wanted to have this discussion about analytics and transformational digitization. In my workplace. This is where I work. This is the equipment in the room that I see patients, where I treat patients, support patients. So why shouldn't we bring the digital world into my workplace? So this is where I work.
Fantastic. And I was worried at the fact that actually it was some a lodge, a Premier Inn somewhere, and you've been kicked out of home and all the rest of it. So I'm glad to know that you're okay, and that is your treatment room and your workplace. So wonderful. Thank you for that. I was actually secretly hoping with Jeff was behind there to come and do something, but maybe next time. Next
time.
Bring Jeff on. We'll bring Jeff on next time. And thank you so much for being part of this today. Oh, it's I found it amazing to talk to you again today and hear what you're doing. And that is, if I'm hoping I'm sure other people are going to be looking at this and saying, gosh, guys, we just need to get on and do this. Yeah, like today. So great for inspiring us.
Collaborate.
Yeah,
there's
collaborate.
Always to the solution.
Yeah, that's a great message. And the new way, well, it's a new way, but the most successful way is that collaborative leadership approach. And you're doing that so much. That's brilliant. And thank you to you and your colleagues. I'm sure everyone will be thinking it. I know the clapping may have sort of stopped, but thank you so much to you and your colleagues for supporting, helping, risking, being, just being pivotal in all of this. So thank you for that as well. And I really do hope you have a wonderful week and weekend.
I look forward to it. I look forward to speaking to you again, Sean. Take care.
Great. Thank you. Cheers, Peter. Bye.